don't get that intro music, I'm gonna die. Like I have to have it, and I don't know how to get a hold of the. I tried calling the record company and everything.
Really?
And they're like out of business.
Oh God.
Far Side's record company is no longer existent. It's like it's a pizza place now. It's like Delicious. It was Delicious Vinyl. This is who put that album out, and they own Delicious Vinyl, Delicious Pizza, and like Delicious Car Wash. So this is like a Crenshaw dude out of his trunk.
She got a bunch of. What was that sound?
SoundCloud,
app? Yeah.
sound something.
No, not.
Canva for sound. Excuse me. Heavens to Betsy.
I was gonna say, you okay, sir?
Woo! Let's do this.
Hold on, let me ask
this
her
show
where
on the
we
road.
get these
Literally.
lips from.
I'm gonna need you to put that one between me and you up on
Hey, what's that loop?
the old YouTube as well.
Site that you were saying that we can get intros and outros from?
I'm already becoming a ridiculous diva. This is great. That's all I ever wanted.
Okay, text it to me. Thank you.
Yes.
She about to text me where we can get it from. That way
All right.
we can check out.
Well, we'll worry about that in post production.
You pressing? Do I need to press record?
You guys already recorded.
We've been
Oh,
recording for
snap.
like an hour. They got
Okay.
all this.
Showtime, Larry.
Showtime. Here we go. We did it again.
Welcome to
I can't
Larry and
believe
Tamise.
I can't believe we made it another time. This is great. So what matters? Yes, episode 2. I'm
Yep.
very excited. We actually have a 1.0 as well that we're going to put on where me and Dee did some stuff. But for now, this is episode 2.
Yeah.
And so how'd you feel about the last show?
I felt good about it.
I did too.
It was good to get our feet wet.
Yeah, I only watched it back 95 times. So, no, I watched it twice all the way through, and I was really pleased with it. I thought it was crazy how we didn't do any editing.
Yeah.
We were able to throw that whole thing together.
Yeah. Being our true, authentic selves.
Yeah, I feel like we could have went for 3 hours on that topic, so we'll
Yep.
probably have to come back and revisit it. But I got your cues when it was time for you to go.
Get out of
But to
here.
pick this back up, I said, "Oh, it's over." Okay, so the podcast is called "What Matters" for a very specific reason. I'm just going to dive right in and get you going. And you made a comment, and we just breezed over it because we were so focused on like the hip hop thing. But you said one of the coolest things about that workshop that we went through was it just taught us to go out and create the world that we want to live in. Mm-hmm. So speak to that a little bit more. Like, what does that, flesh that out for people when you say that? What are you talking about?
I'm talking about not allowing anything from the past, the present, to prevent me from contributing to the outcome that I want to experience in my life. And that has a lot to do with whomever it is that I connect with, whatever it is that I'm doing. Like, I need to understand who I am, why I'm here, and basically to make stuff happen.
Yeah.
Make it do what it does.
Yes.
Whatever it is.
It's going to do what it do, baby. Yeah. No, I feel that. So, my take on it, because obviously we were sitting in the same, room, figuring all this stuff out. I thought it just had us take a much more proactive role in, Kaylee's tattoo being the change we want to see in the world.
Yeah.
That's something that we often say, and we do things here and there where we're in that mindset. But like after that training, it seemed like no, just like go do it. Actually, like literally just go round people up and tell them the way you want the world to work, and tell the people that you want to have engagement in your life that you want to have engagement with them, and just get out there and do it, as opposed to sort of sit back passively and do more hoping, like we talk about levels of commitment.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us, we say, yes, I want to be the change in the world. Yes, I want to create a better world to live in. Now let me sit back and think about how that works, right? Or how that's going to look. And it's much more about, now, since that training, I think it's like, this is what I want the world to be like. This is how I want the people in my life to be. Now let's go get them. Let's go round them up right now and figure it out and sit them down and go, let's talk about how the world should look, right?
And just empower everyday people to do excellent things,
Yeah.
whatever excellent looks like to us, you
Right.
know, because of course it's different people, especially from our different backgrounds.
Yeah.
So whatever that looks like, just empower people to do excellent things.
Right. And celebrating everybody, as long as they're not up to like evil shenanigans.
Right.
As long as they're out there trying to do something good, everybody's got value to bring. And
Everybody does.
Yeah, for sure. So, being the change you want in the world, creating the life you want to live in the world you want to live in, rather. So, tell me about how faith wraps into that. We kind of made a bare bones outline of things we wanted to cover.
Yeah.
I don't know why hip hop was first. I think it was just easy.
Because we was tripping off of each other. Like, dang, we was listening to the same music
we were,
around the same time, doing the same things.
Yep, it was back to that whole thing. It's funny too. My mom mentioned this, and I thought about it 50 times while we were recording last time. But we never talked about gospel music. So I also grew up around gospel music. It might have been different, but like my mom dragged me to more of these like Kingsman Quartet and the Tallies and all these, Southern Baptist kind of bands for my whole, from 4 to probably literally 17 when I was like, I'm not going anymore.
Yeah.
But not that I didn't enjoy them. They were cool. But yeah, I grew up around a lot of that stuff too.
Yeah.
Just because, faith has always been a part of my life, or at least it's my family's life anyway. So let's just dive in, and at risk of alienating, half of the population. But tell me about how faith started for you, how it showed up in your life, when it became a serious thing about you, where it wasn't just sort of like in the ether. It was like, this is my life now. Any interesting moments that have just kind of walk me through your faith journey, and then I'll tail in at the end.
I'll try to. It's probably pretty long, but
I got all day.
But beautiful. I grew up in the church.
Okay.
So my grandmother was a singer, grew up singing, and my grandfather did too. So my mom just grew up singing as well, and that was just like, I remember just being a young 5-year-old singing in a gospel choir, and that was just like, I remember that very vividly. But also just going to church and that being a thing that we did along with just living life. So let's just say going to church was just like going to work Monday through Friday. Church was a thing that we did on Sundays. And if it was special occasions, we went to those too. So I would say maybe when I became a teenager is when it started making sense to me. And that was just because we was just going through a lot of craziness. And the only way to really stay sane was to learn about the power of prayer. So I'd say around 13, leading up to 16 is when I was just trying to really figure this thing out.
So let me ask you this. So before that, you're up singing on stage in choirs, and you're really just like, this,
it was just like a thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
The kids get up and read scripture.
Yeah.
Or the kids get to get up and just
but
basically
imitate. You didn't have like any kind of intimate relationship with it until your teens. Yeah.
I think I wanted to be baptized because I wanted to drink wine. That's just...
That's a great reason, actually, yeah.
I was 12 years old.
I like
it was
that.
Like, my god sister's mom was the pastor of our church. So we went to a non-denominational church, and it was led by a woman, which I was later on able to understand.
That's rare for back then, especially,
women don't preach, or whatever the case. So we would sneak and drink the wine, like we was the bad church kids.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's just really what it was.
I've been the bad church kid.
Right. So that's how that was. And then, like I said, 13 to 16, singing more, having to worship more. And I'm going into high school. So that's when it just really started making sense. Am I going to identify myself as a Christian? And so when I went to high school, I went to a Catholic high school.
Okay.
It was a all-girls Catholic high school.
Gotcha.
And the number one reason why my mom sent me is because I was very flirtatious in middle school. So she was like, go to an all-girls school.
All right.
Whatever. But and then going to that Catholic school, it was identifying, are you Catholic or are you Christian?
Okay.
Because Catholics have a different practice.
Yeah.
And so that's something I didn't understand. So I grew up non-denominational, but then that's when I learned about denominations, and I learned that there was Baptist. And I went to a Lutheran school previously. So, just learning about all of that stuff, I'm just trying to make sense out of why do I even believe in Jesus type of thing.
Sure.
So it wasn't until I was like 16 that I actually accepted Jesus as my personal savior, and I actually got baptized again. Because the first time I got baptized, I wanted to drink wine. This time, it was just like, Jesus became more real to me. Yeah. And I went to a Pentecostal church.
Okay.
So a lot of it was spirit-led, charismatic type of background.
Gotcha.
So... yeah, from there, went to college, and I would say college was like Sodom and Gomorrah.
So college scared the crap out of me, man.
College was wild. It was just like no holds bar, and that's when you really had to own whomever it was that you was going to be.
Right.
So I started up gospel choirs and stuff, but like I was really living a reckless life. Like I was doing church one way, and when I say reckless, it was just like I lived like I had no direction,
Yeah.
but pulled myself together for performances to sing places. So I would say that I only use Jesus as a tool to perform.
Got
I would
it.
say that.
Interesting.
And so yeah, and I was good at it.
Yeah.
So,
Definitely good at it.
and so it wasn't until around that time my one of my best friends was tragically killed. He was waiting on a bus stop to go to school, and a car hit a stop sign and split him in the head.
That's crazy.
And that's when my faith was really shaken.
Yep.
Because a real close friend of mine was tragically murdered. I mean, like killed, not murdered, but killed. And it was that was devastating. And that's when I was getting close to my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband.
Okay.
And he would basically call me a hypocrite, you know.
Like that.
Yeah, because
it's tough to call you out. That's that's probably why you love him.
So in his eyes, it was just like, yeah, you doing church, but like you don't act like what it's supposed to look like to be a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
So I wrestled with that for a long time.
Yeah.
And it wasn't and I wrestled with that because I really didn't have theological principles. I just was a part of church and was just going along with what the pastor said.
Yeah.
I never went along with what I read or because I never did have my own personal devotional life. Well, I ain't gonna say never, because like I said, in my young teenage years, I did when I first got saved and stuff. But when I got into college, I lost it because I was just trying to figure it out.
Tread water, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until I was really conflicted. I had a lot of identity issues. So I didn't have a stable upbringing as far as like knowing who I am and holding on to it. So I just went with the flow so much that I got frustrated with myself, especially with my husband calling me a hypocrite.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
That'll do
saying?
it.
Like, here I am with someone that's just like, yeah, you saying that you're trying to model one thing, but you really not trying
Now,
to
was he
model
doing a
it.
much better job, or was he just
Not at
was
all.
that the pot calling the kettle
He was very
black?
skeptical.
Okay.
So he never did subscribe to faith.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? But he was he had morals.
Yeah.
So it was just like he wanted to do what was right. But he didn't have to identify himself as a Christian to do what was right. When you know what's right, just do what's right.
Yep.
So it wasn't until like he got saved that's when he was measuring up.
And how old was he when that happened?
Gotta say maybe he was 2004.
Okay, so not
maybe
super long ago.
Nah, not too long ago.
And it would have been in his 20s,
He could have been like 23.
Yeah.
24 maybe.
Interesting.
Maybe 25, something like that. Yeah.
That's pretty late in life.
That he actually got saved, and that was when we moved here, 2002, 21. So he was 24, 25. Yep.
And you said you went to like some non-denominational churches. Were they primarily black churches? Were they mixed churches? Like were they
primarily black?
Yeah.
And so it wasn't until I went to the Pentecostal church. It was like an Assembly of God church where it was multicultural.
Okay.
So that's why I was introduced.
Was that different for you?
Absolutely. Because we were singing songs in different languages.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it was absolutely different.
Yeah.
And it was like international people worship different.
Yes.
And like their understanding of faith was different.
Yeah.
So that's why learning about faith became more important to me.
Yeah.
Because I was around people where it was important.
Right.
So that's the reason why I got baptized again.
Yeah, I wish I would have got baptized again. I had kind of a similar situation where I went to Christian school my whole life, and so I was in church basically whenever the doors were open. I mean, like if there was a revival, we were there, 5 nights in a row or whatever it was. And this isn't actually how it happened, but my brain tells me this is how it happened. I feel like we were like literally in Sunday school one day, and like they just rounded us up and like, all right, everybody's getting baptized today, and you're getting saved. Mm-hmm. And I was like 7 or something, and I'm like, what is going on right now?
Yeah.
And I'm so confused by it. Like but then my mom was like, hey, you're baptized, and people came, and so it was like it was a thing.
So
but
it wasn't your choice.
I didn't feel like it was. Like it. Again, I don't know. My recollection isn't pristine from 35 years ago, but I did not actively choose it. Let's just put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Like either I felt like I had to, or I was just told that I needed
part of
to.
the way of life. Yeah.
Just walk up there with the rest of this crowd. We're going to baptize all these kindergartners today, or whatever it was, or first graders. And so for me, like, it was tough because I did that, and then everybody assumed I was saved. Well, I wasn't. I was just sort of like going with the flow, which is weird because I don't really usually do that. But I did back then, and I struggled from that time till I was 14. I remember the exact service. I was our school had a camp at the beginning of school, not the whole time, but like when I was in high school, I think, or must have been junior high because I was 14 years old. I do know that. And they had like an evangelist there. And you know how that gets. You get all emotional and crazy and whatever. And I just realized there was no chance I actually had a personal relationship, with Christ. And so that's when I accepted Christ. And I've thought about it 1,000 times. I've never gotten baptized again, though I think I should have. Because I felt like I already did this once, like, and now, like, I'm an adult and I've got kids that I've baptized. I'm like, I'm not going to do it now. Like, so I was like, all right, Jesus, it's cool. Like, cause I did do it technically. I know it wasn't the right timing, but it was weird, but I definitely noticed a difference. Like when they talk about that time between when it goes from something that you do to something that you live. I struggled all the way up until college even with this idea of, do I believe this stuff or am I reciting it because it was required of me? And what I mean by that is we had Bible class, right? We were taught scripture and religious stuff like it was math or history at my school. And so I really, when I got out on my own, was like, do I really believe all this stuff? Do I really accept all this? Or is it just like, 2 + 2 = 4 and, Columbus discovered America type of stuff? It's just facts that I had. That took me years to process through, honestly. So back to your deal. So your husband gets saved late in life.
My husband got saved, and it was a little rough because, again, based on teachings, like just based on whatever the pastor might have said.
Yep.
Of course, that's what people live according to. And I remember I was just battling big time with anger, and I didn't want it came to a point where my anger was so bad. I was just angry with life. I was angry with the life that I had. Why did God give me this life? Why do I have to suffer all the time? Just all of these things. I was just like, I don't want to live anymore.
Yeah. And
my son was 2. I felt like I wasn't a good wife because, like I said, my husband is just like have this flashlight on me, like different things I'm doing. And I was just like, I shouldn't live. And when I went on and tried to commit suicide, that's when I had my experience with the Spirit of the Lord that was just like, I can't kill what he put inside of me.
How long ago was this?
I was 27.
Wow.
Yep. It was right after my 27th birthday.
Yikes.
So, 15 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, 15 years ago.
And you actually attempted?
I actually did.
Wow.
3 different ways.
Really?
Yeah. It was a wild experience. And the Spirit, I heard it as clear as day, is that you can't kill what I put inside of you. And I was like, okay, what is that? Yeah. Because what I'm experiencing right now is a lot of anger and rage. I did not know how to control myself. I felt like I thought that I was raised with women who struggle with mental health. So I thought that I was going to experience the same thing. And so that's the reason why I really just wanted to take myself out before I destroyed my child or I destroyed anybody else's life. And so the Spirit was just like, if you seek me, you'll find me. And so I just went to Google and I looked that phrase up, if you seek me, you'll find me. And it led me to Jeremiah 29. And that's what started my journey with studying scriptures. And so for me, studying scriptures, that's what helped me hone in on my faith life. And now it's not about denominations. Now it's not about what a preacher says. Now it's about me knowing who he is and why I'm here. And so even in all that, I think that's what ultimately led me. I don't think it, but just praying through it, just with all the healing that I had to go through, just being in and out of churches and just trying to be a servant, accepting leadership in my life, because I never wanted to be a leader. I just didn't want to fail, and I didn't want the negative attention of leading something and I make a mistake and now that's doom and damnation in front of everybody publicly.
Sure.
So I didn't want to risk that. So with all of that, I got over myself, you know what I'm saying? And I started seeking out ways in order to build myself up or to shift my mind. So something happened to me where I did not want to be complacent. I didn't want to be the same person.
Yeah.
And that's what ultimately led me to Zarvos, which Zarvo, or
it's fine.
I didn't want to say that.
Okay.
Well, ultimately led me to accepting an opportunity to be in a leadership program that allowed me.
It's cool. We'll
to,
get the sponsorship later.
Yeah, I'm about to say we need to probably edit it.
We'll get it back here. No, we ain't edited nothing, dog. We rolling.
That's how we connected, but that is just like being there in that leadership program allowed me to be able to grasp hold of language that I needed to unlock who I am all the more. And now it's like opportunities like this, like however way I can encourage, even if it's one person, like Larry, to the point, if we only have one person following us, I feel like we are making drastic changes
100%.
in someone's life.
Yeah.
Because that one person is eventually going to be like, hey, you need to check this out because they're talking about what we talking about.
Yeah.
And that's just us being everyday people, empowering people to just shift the world that we live in. Whether or not that's individually, because eventually we're going to come together and it's gonna mesh together.
Yeah.
So if your world changes, my world
I'm with
change.
you on that. I think that if one person ever sees this, and I know obviously people have seen it now and they'll continue to, but there's so many ways that we're doing just that. By doing this, I believe, I could be dead wrong about this, but I think that there's even something to just showing that any two people that if you just saw them passing on the street might never think of this, that we're doing a podcast, right? And that anybody can do this, and anybody from any walk of life actually have a lot more in common than they think, probably more in common than not in common, right? If we really sit down and talk to people and look them in the eye and learn their story, right? I mean, I think it's also interesting. You said that you had like you weren't saved, but you were in the church, and then you were saved, and then there was like an increase in your experience with God, and then like later in life you hit another wall where you got through it, and that catapulted you. I think that's very common in people's faith stories, right? I think every time I hear somebody's story, I think of a rocket, like how they lift off, and then like part of it falls off and they get a boost, and then another part of it falls off and they get another boost. It feels like that's kind of what happens with people's walk, with Christ and with religion and all that stuff, because you obviously can't download it all at one time. I mean, and you're only ready to hear what you're ready to hear when you're ready to hear it, and so I think that's very normal. I think that's a pretty common experience, right? Like I've heard several people say something to that effect. So
we ain't gonna all get it right.
Yeah.
No,
right.
Like even through
it's just a lot.
Like with whether or not you should get baptized.
Yeah.
Again, you know what I'm saying? Like,
and I probably should. I'm not going to, but I probably should.
But I mean, what does that even mean? Like, for what reason? You know what I'm saying? For whatever reason, like, what does that mean for real?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, for who?
Yeah. For
what reason do I need to get baptized multiple times? What does that mean for me?
We had a guy in this church we used to go to who would just get randomly baptized whenever. Like I saw him get baptized like 3 times.
Yeah.
But I get it actually too. I mean, I sort of understand that, why somebody would do that.
Yeah, I do understand that, but it's just like, where do we get that from, or for whatever reason? Right. Yeah. Or is it like a real personal reason?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think anything really happens there. I think it all happens in our heart and our mind before that. It's just, but it is, it's that public show, which it's weird how like you're not supposed to show things and not be like outwardly focused or not. I shouldn't inwardly focused with your faith, but like we do say everybody's supposed to know about this and do the ceremony. And I get it. Like, I mean, I'm glad we do it. It's a cool tradition.
No, but I know the purpose of I'm talking about the multiple. Like just
why somebody would do that.
Yeah, the reason why people would feel like they have to do it, which I'm big on. Like, if that's what you feel like you have to do do what you feel like you need to do. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
I just don't want to I don't want to cause the fuss and all that over something that I should have done 20, 30 years ago, and that I actually have done technically. You know what I mean?
What's the fuss?
Just, telling people I'm getting baptized, having to go up in front of everybody and do all that. That I really care about that stuff, but like it just seems like, I don't know. Now you're making me question it. It makes me maybe I should sign up for baptism.
No,
it'd be weird.
Like,
it'd be hard to explain to my kids, like too. I'd be like,
I don't see why not. Because it's like, what's the testimony behind it? Like, because that's the whole reason. The whole public confession of it is what's the testimony and the witness behind it. Like, what does that mean for you?
But wouldn't it be weird if you saw somebody like literally singing on the worship team on Sunday, and then like the next Sunday they were getting baptized?
I don't think so.
No. Okay.
Only reason why, because if that's what the Spirit is saying that you should do for you, and whatever testimony that's given to someone else it's like now we not going off of somebody's perception of, oh, this person that was singing on the worship team is now getting baptized. No, this person that was singing on the worship team had a revelation.
Yeah.
And like, you know what, Lord, clean me up again. You know what I'm saying? And if I got to do that 1,000 times.
I could use a little scrubbing.
I mean, it's just like if I got to do that 1,000 times.
Yeah.
Just because that's what it means for me and your relationship, I'll do it regardless of what anybody else thinks.
Yeah.
Because that's what I feel like I need to do. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, now you're preaching.
No,
and
but
you're convicting me.
I'm just like, but what if you don't want to do it?
Yeah.
Don't do it then.
Yeah.
But not because you ain't got to explain to somebody.
Right.
Because they ain't got nothing to do with them.
No, I feel that. That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about, your husband's married, you've got a kid already. How is it showing up differently now? I mean, what's your faith walk like now since that, that turnaround time when God said you can't kill what's his?
So we went through a lot of church stuff.
Yeah.
And so throughout that time, I learned a whole lot about who I am as the church versus the building and all the people that go there.
Yeah.
Because to be honest, churches and church people turn people off.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be one of those. Now, I'm going to turn people off anyway because my slogan about myself is, you might not like my cup of tea, but somebody like my flavor.
Yeah.
So I always say, like, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But the way life is now, and me and my husband and my son, we want to create a healthy family. Mm-hmm. And so we're always leading with that intention. Yeah. Like, and I'm grateful for it because now my son is 18 and in college, and I get to learn how to enjoy this adult child that I helped raise. Yeah. And I get to see the fruit of my labor. Yep. Like, coming from off of this weekend is just like, wow, me and my husband did a good job saying this is what we want. Mm-hmm. Like, we wanted our marriage, so we fought for it. Yeah. And we still fight for it. We fight to tell ourselves individually we on the same team so that we won't break up what we've been working hard for. Because one thing about it, I'm being straight up with you. I don't want to be raising no kid for no 18 years, and then after that I'm looking at my husband like, we shouldn't be together. Mm-hmm. What? Yeah. We spent all these years, and I ain't tripping about what other people do, but for me, it's like I want to work hard to keep what I done spent half of my life doing.
It's a lot of buildings that just knock it over.
What?
Yeah.
I'm cool on that. Like,
but you never know. Some people are trapped. And stuff like that. And
you're right.
The kids
Everybody
to get
got their things.
But yeah.
But me and my family, we work hard to keep it genuine, keep it true.
So you're fairly active in the church, right? I know you sing. Do you do anything else?
I lead worship, and my husband is an elder at the church.
So pretty involved.
So I'm an elder's wife, but it's kind of different for me though, cause like I'm not. Let's just say I'm not an in the box type of person. Yeah. I'm so not that, and I never want to be that.
Yeah, me either.
I never want to be in the box based on what somebody think that I should do. Right. To me, you can go on somewhere with that. You can go kick rocks barefoot. Yeah. Because I'm not doing it.
So you lead worship. Is it more because you love it and it's fun to do, or does it really feel like a ministry to you, or is it kind of a mixed bag of both?
It's both.
Yeah. Is it equal parts?
It's a balance.
Yeah.
I put it like that. It's a balance. I'm going to sing anyway. If I'm out in the pews, I'm going to sing. Yeah. People going to turn around and say, why you not up there? Right. So I know good and well I ain't supposed to be in the pews. Yeah. So like...
That's awesome.
Put it like that.
That's awesome.
So I know I'm not supposed to be in the pews. I'm supposed to be up there, and I'm the one to lead it. Yeah. And I've already accepted that. Yeah. So I'm gonna do it for sanity purposes. Mm-hmm. So that's why I lead.
So I'm relatively new to it, but I have been singing a little bit in the worship team. I don't lead. I'm not ready for that yet, but I feel weird about it because I really, really enjoy it. Mm-hmm. Like I almost feel guilty. Like I should not be enjoying this much. And it was the same thing. They basically pulled me up there. Like I wasn't going to do it because for me, it was just, it's not my voice. It's my size, It's just like I feel weird about getting up in front of people which is so weird because I talk all the time to everybody all day.
Well, I'm glad you're getting over yourself and doing it.
Yeah. So, me and my wife are also super active. We just realized the other day that when I started participating in worship team, It was the only category out of like 12 categories we have to serve that I hadn't served in yet at our church, and so I'm pretty. But yeah, so being an elder is some crazy stuff. I bet that's like a big commitment.
Yeah, it is a huge commitment.
Yeah.
But it's just like at the same time, it's like, you know what, I'm better off doing what is in me to do, even when I don't feel equipped to do it.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to leave this earth holding on to anything that's in me that should be out.
Yeah. So did your husband have to campaign to be an elder? Like, I'm actively campaigning at my church to be an elder. I want to be an elder so bad.
He didn't have to campaign.
So if you're listening, Catalyst Church, next time it comes around, I want in.
Nah, he didn't have to campaign.
That's probably a bad strategy. It's not working for me.
No, I know what you mean, though. It's definitely that way, though. If you do,
I just want my hands on the gears.
Well, if you sign up to be an elder, they do ask people.
Yeah.
They're like, if y'all think that they're not fit to be an elder, let us know.
Yeah, that's probably my problem. I'm not fit.
Why not? What does it take to be fit?
Be more serious, maybe. Maybe I'm not serious enough. But I think they need that.
You think right?
I think they need somebody in there that's like an agitator.
A little razzle and dazzle.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you used to do youth ministry too.
I did.
Okay.
Me and my buddy.
Children's ministry and
so
youth ministry?
that's a great question. So it's funny when so the church that I go to now, like we went there on approximately their fourth or fifth Sunday ever, and that was about 14 years ago. And I liked it immediately because it was a startup church, which felt like a startup business, and that's like my game, right? So like I wanted to jump in and help, right? Well, so I get to becoming friends with the pastor, and I'm doing something, like I'm doing hospitality, and my wife's like doing the kids ministry, like a little kid, like toddlers. And we're at lunch one day, and he goes, "Hey man, I think you should get a little bit more involved with the church. We could really use some help." And I'm like, "Okay, well," he goes, so like, what are you passionate about? And I'm like, and I did this very strategically because our church was very young. The oldest kids we had were like in fourth grade. And I go, well, I'm really passionate about youth, because like youth is really when I came into my, faith walk in earnest. And, I love the youth ministry. I love the idea of it. I feel like that's a really important time in kids' lives to need to be poured into and have just people that like, besides their parents, they can kind of talk to and trust. So I said that knowing that we didn't have a youth group. We weren't going to have a youth group for years and years, right? And he goes, "Oh, that's perfect." He goes, "Because right now our youth group is fourth grade." Okay. And I go, "No." He goes, "Yeah." He's like, "So you're going to teach fourth grade?" And I'm like, and it was the worst. Like, I can't stand that age group. Like, I can't, like, I coach at all levels of my kids, and that age drives me. And until they're in like literally 6th or 7th grade, I can't deal with them. Okay. Like, I just can't. God love me. My kids have heard this. They're going to watch this podcast, but it's true. They know it. And so I had the hardest time with these kids. I used to literally because we were meeting in a school, I had this big hallway was my classroom, and I just make them run laps up and down just to wear them out because they were
church?
Oh yeah, you could hear them, and you'd be in where they're preaching in church, and they like this herd of elephants running up and down. It's all I could do because they were just bouncing off the walls. I didn't know what to do with them. I'm not a teacher.
What was they doing? Like,
running. They were running to burn energy. No lesson.
You have them sing songs.
No, Lord, no. I had no instruments or nothing.
Soldiers in the army of the Lord.
They were just above that level. I couldn't get them to engage on that kind of stuff. So, I mean, we had some great lessons and some great back and forth, but like I had to use their energy up, or I couldn't get them to look at me for more than 10 seconds. What was crazy about it, though, is that, of course, they became 5th graders and then 6th graders and 7th graders, and I'm still teaching all those kids. And then a buddy of mine, we basically just started the youth group.
Okay.
And I was able to walk through, and then we eventually got like a full-time youth pastor, and I still kind of stayed, I was pretty involved, but I got to walk through from 4th grade to these kids graduating high school, and it was the craziest thing ever. I mean, it was like, I couldn't believe how much I got to pour into them and how much I got out of them and how awesome that relationship was. And then like COVID happened and everything changed, and like sort of I kind of like stepped out and got busy on our stuff. Now my kids are going through youth, and I'm like nowhere to be seen, which is weird. And they're like thinking that's weird because I mean that was a big part of my life for a long time, for sure. But so talk to me about like the thing about faith is like you have some people it's just a non-starter. They're not going to talk to you about it at all. They're like I'm agnostic or I'm whatever. But even people that are deep in faith and have been in their whole life certainly have like doubts about it, right? Because sometimes you do feel crazy. Yeah. Speak to that a little bit. Like, have you ever like really doubted your faith? Have you ever had to like talk yourself off the ledge in terms of believing some of the things? Or
well, so my deep doubt. Okay, after my suicide attempt, let's say I'm growing in the Lord, all these different things. Yeah, I had a rough experience because I had a very bad church experience.
Okay.
When I say very bad, like I was a leader in this church amongst other leaders who were bona fide hypocrites. Like, and when I say that, I mean adulterous behavior,
Yeah.
deceptive behavior, stealing from people, like bona fide. Like, I couldn't believe I was when I got out of it, I was like, Lord, I can't believe you allowed me to go through that. Like, and that's when I was just like, are you like, I couldn't believe it. And I was just like, it was 2016. It was December 23rd, 2016. I'll never forget the date.
Weird.
Reason why is because I had a best friend that was serving in ministry with me. So we were elders at this church. Mm-hmm. And she was diagnosed with cancer.
Okay.
December 23rd, 2016 at 2:08 p.m. I learned that it was a whole lie.
Really? Was it like they were going to heal her or something, or like what was?
It was the fact that at 2:08 p.m. I saw on Facebook post, praise God, I've been healed from cancer.
Yikes!
And it was a complete lie.
Weird.
Complete lie.
That's crazy that somebody would make that up.
We fasted and prayed for this girl. We raised money for this girl. We did GoFundMe's for this girl.
Wow.
Like, we did a lot, all in the name of Jesus. And that was the day that I was just like, God, I can't believe you allowed me to go through this. And it was, let me tell you what happened. I was talking to him and I was like, I don't even know why I even believe in you. And he said to me, the Spirit revealed to me, I told you in the scriptures that there was going to be great deception that was going to happen. I allowed you to go through it so you can know what that deception feels like. And you need to tell people to be prepared because there's going to be a lot more deception coming, and you have to be connected to truth in order to make it to see me.
Oh, that's interesting.
And that was that.
Huh. I like that.
So, yeah, that was my last time.
Okay.
And now when I face different adversities in my life, I go back to that.
Yeah.
The Lord reminded me that there was going to be great deception. And when you read Matthew 13 and you read Matthew 24, both of those chapters are telling you what's going down in the last days. And so that's what he told me. Basically, like, going forward, that needs to be my message, that there's a lot of deception that's happening.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why now.
Always has been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It always has been. Right. And
Yeah.
he already wrote it out. There's no reason to deny him because he already gave that insight.
Yeah.
And it's like the only way you'll make it out is just staying truly connected to him.
Right.
And so it doesn't matter what I do. It doesn't. And when I say do, meaning like everything that I do doesn't have to be in the church in order for it to look good to other people.
Sure.
Like, God allows me to be in other places and to link up and meet with other people because eventually stories like this come out.
Right.
Somebody, look, D in the room, he our engineer and everything.
Tech boy.
But ain't no telling what another person just sitting around able to listen to in order to go to God and say, hey, God, can you give me more insight on that? And now that's a new relationship that didn't happen just because of a story like this is being told.
Right.
So that's the reason why I'll show up. I'll show up in different places and
Yeah.
I'll go and do different things as long as it's not compromising my faith. And I think that's one thing that people don't understand. Paul even said it in 1 Corinthians 9. He was like, I know how to be present in any situation. I know how to have a conversation with the Jews. I know how to have a conversation with agnostics.
Yeah.
And not be so challenged by the fact that they are searching.
Right.
Because an agnostic is still searching.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Just like a believer is.
Yeah.
We all on this search.
Yeah.
So it's not to demonize nobody in their search, but it's just to point them to what the truth is. And I feel like I do have access to truth.
Yeah.
And that truth anchors me.
It's funny you say that you have access to the truth. Remember that conversation that we had when we were going out to have enrollment conversations, and I felt like this is just like evangelism. I had this stirring in my soul that I needed to tell people about this training that we did. That's just so. Let me ask this question. For me, faith, the spiritual experiential part has always been the easier part for me, because you feel it, you can almost touch it. You know, it's very intimate with you. But then there's this whole everything that else that it gets packaged in with being a believer, right? Like all the other things we have to accept and believe, and about creation and, you know, biblical accuracy and all those things. And, you know, I struggled with that every now and then, because it is like there's some parts of religion and like the biblical history, I guess, it's tough to accept, right? It doesn't make a lot of sense under normal circumstances, right? Like we're talking about following a guy who, you know, is the only person to die and raised from the dead by himself, and, you know, come back and influence the world and all these different things. And but I don't know about for you. For me, whenever that comes up, I get real caught up in the details, and I start thinking about, did Jonah really spend 3 days inside a fish's stomach? And is it important to the story? You know, like, does it really matter? And I also think about how, and some churches don't do this, but for me growing up, like, it was facts. Like, this stuff happened. That's the end of it, and there's no discussing it, basically. And I thought, but this was oral tradition for thousands of years, right? Like, certainly some of this stuff could have been, you know, romanticized up a little bit to make a point, you know? And then I got real worried about that, because I thought, well, that's just a terrible attitude to take. Like, it's not taking it as divine scripture. So I've been all over the place on that. But I think at the end of the day, I come back to, only in defense of my faith do I feel like those are a problem, right? Like when somebody's like, well, how do you explain this? Or do you really believe that this happened? You know, it's always some crazy Bible story, right? And I've started to realize, like, I don't know that it even matters anymore, because like, I used to argue a lot about, you know, divine inspiration. Like, this stuff came directly out of God's mouth to this guy's hand. And that's also difficult to make people believe, and sometimes even difficult for my brain to get around, like that. But like, then I start thinking, like, every word that's ever been spoken or written down is also inspired by God. He did in fact create us. So like everything that we do is basically inspired by him, because he put life into us. And so that made that, so I find these little like workarounds for myself throughout it. But like, do you ever have any of those like structural concerns with like, just like, for example, the flood is a great example. That to me, like, that's a far-fetched story. But I think I definitely know what happened, because what's unique about that one story is, like, every religion and every historical documentation talks about that flood. Yeah. Like, that thing happened, right? But like some of the other stuff is like, well, did it really happen? Does my believing it, does my faith hinge on believing it? And I battle with that a little bit here and there. Do you have anything like that with like some of the real nitty gritty things?
I'll be honest. When I do, I research it out. Yeah. So yes, there are times where I question things. Yeah. And I research it out. And the beautiful thing about it, every time I go and seek it out, I get the answer. You get, yeah. And that's based on, have you ever heard of apologetics? Yes. That's me. Yeah. That's my bag. Yeah.
I've read a couple. I do love them. I'm not, there's millions of them. I need to read more. But
Josh McDowell.
That's the dude?
That's your guy.
Okay. I'll check him out.
The Case for Christ with Lee Strobel.
I have listened to The Case for Christ.
Yeah, so it's just a lot of information out there that's going to give us what we need. The Creation Museum, for instance. Have you ever been to that museum?
I need to go there now.
Fire.
Is it really?
What?
Well, so here's my thing on creation too. Like, at the end of the day, I always come down to that. You got to believe something, right? You got to have faith in something, because to me, I've always said this since I was a kid. The Big Bang and the creation are equally as crazy. Both of those stories are nuts. They don't make any sense under any. And then I started, like, the older I got and the more like I started like digging into this stuff, it's like they sound an awful lot alike, actually. Well, you know, let there be light, and then a big explosion, like, you know, it really is. Yeah. And this idea of you know, being a Christian school, we fought hard against this evolution theory. Like, they were just beating it into us, like, this did not happen, whatever. And it's like, but you know what? It could have happened a little. Like, who's to say God didn't start things out, kind of shove them off, and let them do their thing? Yeah. Like, and so I think it actually is much more like structurally congruent than we think it is. Yeah. But like, it seems like when somebody doesn't want to accept faith or accept any, you know, any mindset that there's a higher power that might judge them for their actions. That's really what it comes down to, right? Most people that don't want faith don't want to be judged for their actions, right?
That's right.
I'm sure I get some kickback on that because people will say there's other reasons, but really I think it's accountability, right?
Yeah.
It's the fact I don't want to be accountable to anyone, so I'm willing to believe that things just popped up one day and all this crap randomly happened versus there's a designer, there's a higher power. But I think the more we push, like I've been like listening to a lot of Joe Rogan. I've told, because I've sort of been prepping for this, but also I just become fascinated with him. He has a lot of guys on there talking about a lot of theory that sounds an awful lot like scripture.
Not because it is.
Yeah.
Even psychology, therapy, or even like the leadership training that we went to.
Yeah.
A lot of it
is
like
seems based in scripture. If it's not, if it isn't, definitely. Yeah.
But that's one thing. That's why I've learned how to find joy. I'm learning. Then I ain't gonna say I've learned because I ain't no finished product. But I am learning to find joy in my questions, because as I learn according to scriptures, all he want us to do is seek him. Yeah. Because like all he want to do is reveal truth.
Right. That's why I get these people that only want to focus on the New Testament. Like I get that we have to address the Old Testament, and there's definitely stuff in there for us. Clearly, he left clues and breadcrumbs the whole way through about his coming.
The New Testament is flooded with all.
But the New Testament, it just seems like it changes the game. It's like there was so much judgment and retribution in the Old Testament.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of salvation too. But then Jesus came and he was like, "Nah, y'all, it's way simpler than this.
Yeah.
Like just love me and love everybody.
Just seek me out."
And it almost seems too simple. Right, because it doesn't require much, and I know there's more required of us. But like basically, in a nutshell, when they put him up against the wall and asked him, he said, "What are we supposed to do?" Leader of the world, like love everybody and love me. That's what you're supposed to do. Yeah. And the idea that he went around, there was so much pomp and circumstance that was avoided by him just hanging out with people.
Yeah,
and he never modeled church. Right? He literally never modeled a building where you go and you do the same thing. He did preach to people, but most of the time, if I read my Bible correctly, he was just walking around kicking it with people. And that's what we're supposed to do, right? It's like the easiest call in the world, right? It's like just hang out with people, be a good person, and point towards me. Right? That's all we're supposed to do.
You're preaching.
I'm not preaching. But it's...
Let him be an elder at y'all church.
Please. I say that because I often have to come all the way back to that. When I get caught up in all the dogma and the rules, regulations, and these things we're supposed to believe as fact, and all the possibilities of the universe, but that was so crazy to me. God sent his son, is what I'm told, what I read, what I believe. And that son could have done anything on this planet that he wanted to do.
You're about to make me cry, Larry.
And could have raised buildings with a snap of a finger and been worshipped and run the whole planet. And he was hanging out with hookers and tax collectors. I mean that I don't think we can talk about that enough.
No, we don't.
And the fact that like there's some book I read, I can't remember the name of it, but like the disciples he was running with, they were just screw ups, dude. Like Peter was a joke, right? Like he was getting in fights all the time. I mean, like he was arguing with, Jesus nonstop. And we talked about this, like he saw who they really were. And that's what we're supposed to do. It's also where I feel like that training, the Zardos training, helped me look at people for who they actually were, not what the residue of what they had been. Yeah. Like those guys were stinky, cussing, gross fishermen, that were really up to no good. And he's like, no, I see what you're capable of right now. Yeah. Follow me. And they just were like, cool.
Yeah. And that's the thing. He made them fishers of men.
Yeah.
Right. And it was just like, it was the fact that.
But who would choose those people? That's what my thing. Nobody would go there. There's nobody that's running a campaign to do anything productive that's going down to the docks and talking to the fishermen, even today, let alone back then. And so he just drags you along, right? Yes. He's just like, look, come follow me. Like I know the way.
I want to be saved now.
You gonna get baptized again? Let's go. Let's do it. Let's do it on Sunday. We'll go to the creek.
Seriously, golly.
My church just did a creek baptism. It was so sick. We didn't go. I feel so stupid, but it was apparently like an amazing. Well, my mom, like the church my grandma goes to, like in Tennessee. I think she's a different church now, but like that's all they ever did was baptize in the river. Yeah. They didn't even have a baptism.
That was my first baptism.
Because it's warmer down there. That's why.
I got baptized at the beach in Chicago.
Really? I'm jealous of that.
It was a sunrise service.
That's crazy. That sounds cool.
Yeah, that was how they did baptism back when and that's why I wanted to go, because I wanted to go to sunrise and I wanted to drink wine.
It's funny. The way my church operates now, I've totally unformalized the whole baptism thing. Like, my church was growing up was very structured. Like I said, organ, piano only, like, only hymnals, like whatever. If you were alive, your song ain't in the hymnal, right? Like, that's how that worked at my church. And then this new church, like, we were baptizing people. We call it the coffin. It's like this. It's like a big tub that rolls around, and we just dump people. Well, but they do them in. We did baptism in somebody's pool one time, and like we've done the. And I'm like, why was I making this such a hard thing? I mean, it's like,
I wonder how it got to this though. Like
because it's all about form and process and formality. And when people expect something, then they expect it somewhere else. And if you're going to have a successful church, you better have a drive-through, just like McDonald's. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, there's a program that works. We say it works, but we're like more unchurched now than we've been in years and years.
And not building community,
no.
Not kicking it with people.
There's not enough church going on outside of church.
No, it's
right?
not. It's not.
And that's, again, going back to Jesus' ministry, it's like, it's so obvious.
Yeah.
He didn't need nothing.
No.
Nothing. Didn't need a microphone, didn't need a building, didn't need offering, didn't need a hymnal.
No.
He just went out there and loved on people.
Yeah.
And I think that's, when we get all the way back and spin this back to the world we want to create, right? Yeah. It's that you want to be in a world that you're loved, and the best way to do that is just love on others, right?
Come on,
just lean in and love hard.
Come on. You can preach. And if you want to give offering, Larry's cash
Please
app.
Donate. Please donate to the GoFundMe for this fund.
That's powerful because I mean that just speaks to our life too, just the redemptive power of our life. Like all the mistakes that we've made in order to get to where we are right now, to discover why we were created to do stuff like this. Because ain't no telling who else is listening and thinking that they need to follow all these formalities or, you need to continue to call a person a hypocrite until they get themselves right, when it's just all about being amongst people and loving them for who they are.
And I think that we're starting to do a better job of this, I think, as a church, the Big C church, making sure people know that we're really broken too. Like that just because we've been in church our whole lives.
A better job. Where do you see that at?
Well, I think
now that's why I'm conflicted.
So maybe my spiritual experience has been, the more and more I lean into the church that I'm at and people that I'm talking about in churches like that, it's about, go ahead and spill the beans. Yes, we're all broken. Yes, we've all come short of the glory of God. It says it in the Bible. We should be obvious, but people are hiding all the time.
Yeah.
And I did get this perception for a long time from churches that I went to where those people must not be bad. I mean, they must not have ever been bad. Like, you know what I mean? Or once in a while, some evangelists would come and say he had lived some crazy life, but then he turned it all around and gave his life to God. Now he's preaching on the road, right? But like, there wasn't much in between. So, and lately for me, it has been almost a celebration of the fact that we are broken, and that there's only one person that's ever walked on this earth who didn't let God down immensely several times in their lives, if not many, many times. I know I have, right? But that to me has been celebrated more. Are you not experiencing that? You're still in the. Uh-oh, she's gonna sneeze. Whoa. I'm glad we got that on tape. I'm gonna play that back. That's good.
I'm glad it's
that was very interesting.
And now 3 to 5. I'm saying that I'm experiencing at my church.
Church, okay.
But when you said Big C church, I don't see that or experience that in Big C church.
No, that's fair. But I feel like it's creeping in there.
In my church, I feel like it's more people coming outside saying, like what you said, spill the beans, like we are human. Like that's something I'm studying right now. Like all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. But you got all these people that want to put a flashlight on your life, just like what I was experiencing to get myself together, so to speak. Yeah. So I don't know. This is good.
That's good. I think we have to wrap it up. Our tech guy is telling us that we have to wrap things up. There'll come a day where I'll be like, shh. We'll go for 3.5 hours on this thing. But anyway, any last all hearts clear thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, snide remarks? No, this was good. It was fun. Yeah. This is just as fun as last time. Yeah, totally different topic, just as fun. Appreciate everybody that's listening, and goodbye, everybody.
See ya.